Well, I couldn't go live, so at least I can read to you, I reckon. Hope this will go up. This chapter, forgot the number, but you'll see it. Lazy Lawrence is the name of it. Laurie went to Nice, intending to stay a week, and remained a month. He was tired of wandering about alone, and Amy's familiar presence seemed to give a home-like charm to the foreign scenes in which she bore a part. He rather missed the petting he used to receive, and enjoyed a taste of it again, for no attentions, however flattering, from strangers were half so pleasant as the sisterly adoration of the girls at home. Amy never would pet him like the others, but she was very glad to see him now, and quite clung to him, feeling that he was the representative of the dear family, for whom she longed more than she would confess. They naturally took comfort in each other's society, and were much together, riding, walking, dancing, or dawdling, for at Nice no one can be very industrious during the gay season. But while apparently amusing themselves in the most careless fashion, they were half-consciously making discoveries and forming opinions about each other. Amy rose daily in the estimation of her friend, but he sank in hers, and each felt the truth before a word was spoken. Amy tried to please, and succeeded, for she was grateful for the many pleasures he gave her, and repaid him with the little services to which womanly women knew how to lend an indescribable charm. Laurie made no effort of any kind, but just let himself drift along as comfortably as possible, trying to forget, and feeling that all women owed him a kind word because one had been cold to him. Joe. It cost him no effort to be generous, and he would have given Amy all the trinkets in Nice if she would have taken them. But at the same time he felt he could not change the opinion she was forming of him, and he rather dreaded the keen blue eyes that seemed to watch him with such half-sorrowful, half-scornful surprise. All the rest have gone to Monaco for the day. I preferred to stay at home and write letters. They're done now, and I'm going to Valrosa to sketch. Will you come?" said Amy, as she joined Laurie one lovely day when he lounged in as usual about noon. "Well, yes, but isn't it rather warm for such a long walk?" he answered slowly. Slowly, the shaded salon looked inviting after the glare without. "I'm going to have the little carriage, and Baptiste can drive, so you'll have nothing to do but hold your umbrella and keep your gloves nice," returned Amy with a sarcastic glance at the immaculate kids, which were a weak point with Laurie. "Then I'll go with pleasure," and he put out his hand for her sketchbook, but she tucked it under her arm with a sharp, "Don't trouble yourself. It's no exertion to me, but you don't look equal to it." Laurie lifted his eyebrows and followed at a leisurely pace as she ran downstairs, but when they got into the carriage he took the reins himself, and left little Baptiste nothing to do but fold his arms and fall asleep on his perch. The two never quarreled. Amy was too well bred, and just now Laurie was too lazy, so in a minute he peeped under her hat brim with an inquiring air. She answered him with a smile, and they went on together in the most amicable manner. It was a lovely drive along winding roads rich in the picturesque scenes that delight beauty-loving eyes. Here an ancient monastery, whence the solemn chanting of the monks came down to them. There a bare-legged shepherd in wooden shoes, pointed hat, and rough jacket over one shoulder sat piping on a stone while his goats skipped among the rocks or lay at his feet. Meek, mouse-colored donkeys laden with panniers of freshly cut grass passed by, with a pretty girl in a capeline sitting between the green piles, or an old woman spinning with a distaff as she went. Brown, soft Soft-eyed children ran out from the quaint stone hovels to offer nosegays or bunches of oranges still on the bough. Gnarled olive trees covered the hills with their dusky foliage. Fruit hung golden in the orchard, and great scarlet anemones fringed the roadside, while beyond green slopes and craggy heights, the maritime Alps rose sharp and white against the blue Italian sky. Valrosa well deserved its name, for in that climate of perpetual summer, roses blossomed everywhere. They overhung the archway, thrust themselves between the bars of the great gate with a sweet welcome to passers-by, and lined the avenue, winding through lemon trees and feathery palms up to the villa on the hill. Every shadowy nook, where seats invited one to stop and rest, was a mass of bloom. Every cool grotto had its marble nymph smiling from a veil of flowers, and every fountain reflected crimson, white, or pale pink roses leaning down to smile at their own beauty. Excuse me. Own beauty. Roses covered the walls of the house, draped the cornices, climbed the pillars, and ran riot over the balustrade of the wide terrace, whence one looked down on the sunny Mediterranean and the white-walled city on its shore. "This is a regular honeymoon paradise, isn't it? Did you ever see such roses?" asked Amy, pausing on the terrace to enjoy the view, and a luxurious whiff of perfume that came wandering by. "No, nor felt such thorns," returned Laurie with his thumb in his mouth after a vain attempt to capture a solitary scarlet flower that grew just beyond his reach. "Try lower down and pick those that have no thorns," said Amy, gathering 3 of the tiny cream-colored ones that starred the wall behind her. She put them in his buttonhole as a peace offering, and he stood a minute looking down at them with a curious expression. Expression. For in the Italian part of his nature there was a touch of superstition, and he was just then in that state of half-sweet, half-bitter melancholy when imaginative young men find significance in trifles and food for romance everywhere. He had thought of Jo in reaching after the thorny red rose, for vivid flowers became her, and she had often worn ones like that from the greenhouse at home. The pale roses Amy gave him were the sort that the Italians lay in dead hands, never in bridal wreaths, and for a moment he wondered if the omen was for Jo or for himself. But the next instant his American common sense got the better of sentimentality, and he laughed a heartier laugh than Amy had heard since he came. "It's good advice. You'd better take it and save your fingers," she said, thinking her speech amused him. "Thank you, I will," he answered in jest, and a few months later he did it in earnest. I read my nose and just vibrations. "Laurie, when are you going to your grandfather?" she asked presently as she settled herself on a rustic seat. "Very soon?" "You said that a dozen times within the last 3 weeks. I dare say short answers save trouble. He expects you and you really ought to go." "Hospitable creature, I know it." "Then why don't you do it?" "Natural depravity, I suppose." "Natural indolence, you mean. It's really dreadful," and Amy looked severe. "Not so bad as it seems, for I should only plague him if I went, so I might as well stay and plague you a little longer. You can bear it better. In fact, I think it agrees with you excellently." And Laurie composed himself for a lounge on the broad ledge of the balustrade. Amy shook her head and opened her sketchbook with an air of resignation, but she had made up her mind to lecture that boy, and in a minute she began again. "What are you doing just now?" "Watching lizards." "No, I mean, what do you intend and wish to do?" smoke a cigarette, if you'll allow me." "How provoking you are. I don't approve of cigars, and I will only allow it on condition that you let me put you into my sketch. I need a figure." "With all the pleasure in life. How will you have me, full length or 3/4, on my head or heels?" "I should respectfully suggest a recumbent posture, then put yourself in also, and call it dolce far niente." Probably slayed that. "Stay as you are and go to sleep if you like. I intend to work hard," said Amy in her most energetic tone. "What delightful enthusiasm!" And he leaned against a tall urn with an air of entire satisfaction. "What would Jo say if she saw you now?" asked Amy impatiently, hoping to stir him up by the mention of her still more energetic sister's name. "As usual. Go away, Teddy, I'm busy." He laughed as he spoke, but the laugh was not natural, and a shade passed over his face, for the utterance of the familiar name touched the wound that was not healed yet. Both tone and shadow struck Amy, for she had seen and heard them before, and now she looked up in time to catch a new expression on Laurie's face. A hard, bitter look, full of pain, dissatisfaction, and regret. It was gone before she could study it, and the listless expression back again. She watched him for a moment with artistic pleasure, thinking how like an Italian he looked as he lay basking in the sun, with uncovered head and eyes full of southern dreaminess, before he seemed to have forgotten her and fallen into a reverie. "You look like the effigy of a young knight asleep on his tomb," she said, carefully tracing the well-cut profile defined against the dark stone. "Wish I was." "That's a foolish wish, unless you've spoiled your life. You're so changed, I sometimes think." There Amy stopped with a half-timid, half-wistful look, more significant than her unfinished speech. Laurie saw and understood the affectionate anxiety which she hesitated to express, and looking straight into her eyes, said, just as he used to say to her mother, "It's all right, ma'am." That satisfied her and set her at rest the doubts that had begun to worry her lately. It also touched her, and she showed that it did by the cordial tone in which she said, "I'm glad of that. I didn't think you'd be a very bad boy, but I fancied you might have wasted money at that wicked Baden. Lost your heart to some charming French woman with a husband, or got into some of the scrapes that young men seem to consider a necessary part of a foreign tour. Don't stay out there in the sun. Come and lie on the grass here and let us be friendly," as Joe used to say when we got in the sofa corner and told secrets. Laurie obediently threw himself down on the turf and began to amuse himself by sticking daisies into the ribbons of Amy's hat that lay there. "I'm all ready for the secrets," and he glanced up with a decided expression of interest in his eyes. "I've none to tell. You may begin." "Haven't one to bless myself with. I thought perhaps you'd have some news from home." "You've heard all that has come lately. Don't you hear often? I fancied Joe would send you volumes." "She's very busy. I'm roving about so. It's impossible to be regular, you know. When do you begin your great work of art, Raffaella?" he asked, changing the subject abruptly, after another pause in which he had been wondering if Amy knew his secret and wanted to talk about it. "Never," she answered with a despondent but decided air. "Rome took all the vanity out of me, for after seeing the wonders there, I felt too insignificant to live, and gave up all my foolish hopes in despair." "Why should you, with so much energy and talent?" "That's just why. Because talent isn't genius, and no amount of energy can make it so. I want to be great or nothing. I want to be a commonplace dauber, so I don't intend to try anymore. And what are you going to do with yourself now, if I may ask? Polish up my other talents and be an ornament to society if I get the chance. It was a characteristic speech and sounded daring, but audacity becomes young people, and Amy's ambition had a good foundation. Laurie smiled, but he liked the spirit with which she took up a new project when a long-cherished one died, and spent no time lamenting. Good, and here is where Fred Vaughn comes in, I fancy. Amy preserved a discreet silence, but there was a conscious look in her downcast face that made Laurie sit up and say gravely, "Now I'm going to play brother and ask questions. May I?" "I don't promise to answer. Your face will, if your tongue won't. You aren't woman of the world enough yet to hide your feelings, my dear. I heard rumors about Fred and you last year, and it's my private opinion that if he had not been called home so suddenly and detained so long, something would have come of it, eh?" "That's not for me to say," was Amy's grim reply, but her lips would smile, and there was a traitorous sparkle of the eye which betrayed that she knew her power and enjoyed the knowledge. "You're not engaged, I hope," said Laurie. Laurie looked very elder brotherly and grave all of a sudden. "No, but you will be if he comes back and goes properly down on his knees, won't you?" "Very likely." "Then you are fond of old Fred." "I could be if I tried." "But you don't intend to try till the proper moment?" "Bless my soul, what an earthly prudence. He's a good fellow, Amy, but not the man I fancied you'd like." "He is rich, a gentleman, and has delightful manners," began Amy, trying to be quite cool and dignified, but feeling a little ashamed of herself, in spite of the sincerity of her intentions. "I understand. Queens of society can't get on without money, so you mean to make you seem to make a good match and start in that way?" "Quite right and proper as the world goes, but it sounds odd from the lips of one of your mother's girls." And I'm going to stop there. 18 minutes because I'm tired. And I forgot my drink. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Mother's Day or Sunday. Praying for all those that this is not a happy day for. Just try to think of other things. Think of happy things. Let's see if I can find something fun or positive in this little bit. Boy, I needed this today with all the problems I had with my life. I have never in my life had such problems. It says worry. Worry not only distracts, it attracts. It can become an accidental magnet for the things you do not want. So don't worry. Be happy. I love that song. Don't worry, be happy. Ooh, 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 ooh. Is your heart getting enough exercise? Perform random acts of love daily. Isn't that cute? Cute, 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 cute. Probably not even supposed to be reading this because of copyright. So let me say that it's by this author right here. Hope you can see it. And I want to find her first book. How to Be Happy, damn it. And let's see the copyright of this was, guess it's a secret. Let's see it. It's gotta be here. I really truly don't see it. Oh well. Anyway, that's who it's by. That is who it is by. Dog tree. Wish I could find the first one. Maybe I will one of these days, or run up on it at Amazon or eBay or Etsy or something. I'll let y'all go and see you somewhere. It's almost 7 o'clock, and I thought we were playing bingo tonight, but I guess maybe V's doing something for Mama's Day or just taking a break. Anyhow, I'm going to go in here and stitch and probably fall asleep. Drink some straight up coffee. Got to get some more of that good Julie coffee. And I got to get some moolah and spin it all. Love y'all. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. See you tomorrow live at 5. I hope. Pray. Bye-bye.